Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle something that's been drilled into us since we were kids, the idea that we only have 5 senses. But what if I told you there's a 6th one that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time?
For centuries, the answer has always been a solid yes. 5 senses, that's it. But what if there's this silent guardian, right? A 6th sense that's been with us all along, guiding our every single step.
So in fields like life coaching and what's called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, there's this model called VACUG. It's basically the gold standard, the A-team of our senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. But, and this is a big but, what if this model that we've relied on for decades has a major, fatal flaw?
And get this, the entire thing, this whole established model, it all came crashing down. And not in some fancy research lab, but because of one bold question, asked in a simple classroom.
Okay, just picture this for a second. You're the teacher, you're explaining this core concept, and a student just stands up and says, excuse me, but everything you're saying is built on sand. I mean, wow, that's pretty much what happened. This student argued that our sense of balance isn't just some sidekick to touch and feeling. No, they said it's a primary sense, all on its own.
And their argument? It was absolutely brilliant. It was basically a Pluto moment for our senses. You know how Pluto got demoted from being a planet? Well, this was kind of like that for the kinesthetic sense, our sense of touch and movement. It got knocked down to a secondary role. And you might be asking, why? Well, it's because unlike our sense of balance, it doesn't have its own dedicated private highway straight to the brain.
All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at the science and see why this claim actually holds so much water. What exactly gives balance the credentials to be in the primary sense big leagues?
So deep inside our inner ear, we've got this amazing piece of biological tech called the vestibular system. Think of it like your body's own internal GPS. It has these tiny canals that are like a gyroscope, telling you when you're spinning or turning. And then it has these little crystals, get this, that act like an accelerometer, letting you know when you're moving forward or backward. But here's the kicker. It has a direct line, a nonstop express train, right to the brain. That's its VIP pass to the primary sense club.
And this sense of balance, it's the foundation for something called proprioception. It sounds complicated, but it's actually this incredible, almost magical ability to know where all your body parts are without even looking. It's the reason a basketball player can pull off a no-look pass, or why you and I can walk down the street without staring at our feet the whole time. This body map is it's crucial for everything, from learning to walk as a kid to staying mobile as we get older.
Okay, now this is where things get really cool. We can actually use this very real, very physical sense of balance as a key to unlocking that metaphorical life balance that we're all constantly talking about. And trust me, the connection is way more direct than you might think.
Think about a really good dancer, like a swing dancer, leading their partner across the floor. Where does all their power and stability come from? It comes from their core, from a low, grounded center of gravity. They are totally consciously using their vestibular system to create this stable base that every single other movement flows from. When they feel off, they literally feel like they're teetering on the edge.
And this right here is the ultimate mastery of this sense. You see Chinese Qigong masters who have such a deep connection to their vestibular system that they become, physically unshakable. You literally can't knock them over. Their centeredness isn't just a mental state, it's a physical reality.
And this maps directly onto our everyday emotional states. I mean, think about it. When you feel anxious or overwhelmed, where do you feel it? Your physical center of gravity literally rises up into your chest. You might stand with all your weight on one foot. You feel off-kilter. And the opposite is true too. When you feel confident, in control, you feel grounded, stable. Your center of gravity is lower, and you can move with this easy, fluid motion.
So here's the most important part. This isn't just some cool piece of trivia to bring up at a party. The real question is, how can we actually use this 6th sense as a practical tool? A tool to help ourselves and others find that better life balance we're looking for.
Well, for coaches, this opens up a whole new playbook. It's a full-on process. First, you can build rapport just by listening for all the balance metaphors people naturally use. I feel off balance. I need to get my feet back on the ground. Then, you can help them become more aware of their own body, their own physical sensations of stability. From there, you can start to uncover the patterns, what things consistently throw them off kilter. And finally, you can drive real lasting change by helping them anchor themselves in that resourceful, physically centered state.
And the tools for this, they're so simple, but wow, are they profound.
By asking questions that tap directly into this vestibular system, you can kind of bypass all the intellectual chatter and get right to the heart of the matter. I mean, asking someone, on a scale of teetering to rock solid, where are you right now? That can reveal more in 5 seconds than a half-hour conversation about stress.
And the impact? It's measurable, and it is staggering. Studies have actually shown that by focusing on our physical sense of balance, we can reduce those feelings of overwhelm by up to 40%. So how does that even work? Well, you're creating a physiological shift. When you physically ground yourself, feet flat on the floor, weight even, center of gravity low, you're sending these calming signals up that dedicated neural highway right to your brain. You're literally interrupting the anxiety feedback loop. We're not just thinking our way out of stress, we're feeling our way out.
So, what's the big takeaway here? By finally giving balance its rightful place in our sensory toolkit, we get a much more accurate, a much more precise model for understanding ourselves. We have a whole new language and a whole new sense to work with, and that lets us navigate our inner world and our outer world with so much more stability, grace, and, effectiveness.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one question. Right now, in this very moment, as you're listening to this, where is your center of gravity? Are you feeling firmly planted, or are you maybe teetering just a little bit on the edge? Because really thinking about the answer to that question, that might just be the key to unlocking a more balanced, a more centered you.